Hello class and student people. I'm going to be showing you how to create the type poster project. This can be kind of a follow along video, but you should still be creating your own original content, not copying me, yada yada yada. So let's get started because I've tried this like 10 times and I'm not happy with any of those passes, so we're just going to jump right into it. Alright, so we're supposed to be finding a type-faced poster on Google to basically mimic. I drew from the Darth Vader hat, Helvetica, and I was going through these, and this is really the only one that I think is simple enough to tackle in a video that isn't going to take hours. So I'm going to grab this one, go to View Image, I'm going to zoom it up to get it big, and then I'm just going to right-click, Save Image, and drop it in this type poster folder I've created for myself, and then I'm going to stick it in Assets. That way it doesn't move around and links don't break between the parent file and the folder. You've seen this happen in InDesign, where if you accidentally move stuff around, you'll lose the connection between the file and the images that you've put into it, so making a folder will just simply erase that issue. So I'm going to save that in there. Minimize out of that. I'm going to open this up, make sure everything's good. Excellent. Next step is to open an Illustrator document. So I already have Illustrator open, so it doesn't take too long. I'm just going to go to File, New, and we're going to be doing this in tabloid size. So that is 11 by 17. I'm going to add a bit of a bleed just because I think it's a good idea. More settings, cancel, and this should be CMYK because it's Illustrator, but what you gonna do? Why are you giving me that? What is that? Come on. Whatever. More settings. I'm gonna set this to 150 ppi, which is a good print quality setting, and then I think all of that is good, so I'm gonna hit Create Document. And I have my tabloid image. Go to File, and I'm going to place in the thing that I'm going to be copying, so go to Place, and it'll open this up. Going to my desktop, going to find my type folder, going to go into Assets, and I'm going to click that, and I'm going to place it there. So the orientation of my file needs to change a bit. Obviously it's portrait, I want it to be landscape, so we're going to go to this little tool down here that is the Artboard tool and click on it. This allows me to actually edit or add workspace to this. All I'm going to do to make this landscape or portrait is to just click this button. There you go. Back to the normal mode. I am now going to set my Helvetica image in there. Excellent. And we're supposed to make this a template, and I believe the way to do that is to click on this, hint template, and it automatically will dim it to 50%. I personally like it being a little bit more dimmed than that, so I don't get confused. I'm going to change this layer to reference image. Okay. And you can see it's lighter and it's locked. You can easily unlock it to go back in and edit it, but we won't really need that, hopefully. New layer. This will eventually be my background layer, so I'm just going to name it BG and then lock it. And now we're going to start working on the typeface. Clicking T or going up to character profiles, which is Command T to bring them up. No, stay. Character profiles. Awesome. So I need to go in here and look at my type. Obviously, my type is Helvetica. So let's change that first and pull up Helvetica. Excellent. Helvetica regular. That should be fine. So the first thing I guess I'm going to accomplish is this, slanted title. I'm going to just click, make this at least 72 so I can read it, and then caps lock and Helvetica. And then I'm going to take this up here and rotate it, hopefully to the best of my ability so that it lines up. Oops, don't want to stretch font. Command Z is undo, by the way, if you don't know. It's a very useful tool. Alright, let's say that's that. I'm then going to try to get this to be the same size. And we might notice that even as we're getting to the right size, that there's a difference here. The other Helvetica is thicker, which means it's probably a bold. I'm going to go back down to my type settings, and I'm going to change this to bold. And there you go. That works a lot better. You can still see there's a bit of offness here. As it starts getting towards the end of the word, it stops overlapping properly. What we do not want to do is stretch. Stretching is, you know, this. And it is considered overall very bad graphic design process because it actually squishes the font, and you don't want that. So we're going to highlight this entire thing and go back to our character styles. There's this VA tool right here that will slowly separate or contract your letters based off of what parts you have highlighted. I want to go below and start getting into the negative letters so that it slowly syncs up. And you know what? That's pretty good, I think. So there we go. I'm going to just do a little bit more shifting, and that is relatively in place. Awesome. Now we're going to do the upper part. Though, first step, did not want to completely forget this. We want to create outlines on our typography when we're done working with them. That way it doesn't get confusing. You don't accidentally click on it when you're trying to type something else. So select this with your black arrow tool, which is right here. Go up to Type and click Create Outlines. If this thing does not pop up for you, Create Outlines, chances are it's because you're trying to select it with your Type tool, which is this, rather than your black arrow tool, which is that. It will not change to outlines if you're still in type edit mode. Just one thing to keep in mind. So that's now an outline. I don't really have to worry about messing with that too much anymore. I'm now going to look at this upper letter, upper level. All right. By the way, if you see these random words pop up, don't be confused. It's a mixture of Latin and gibberish, and it's just placeholder text. So I'm going to minimize that down to maybe 36 and make it regular. And using only lowercase, the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Okay. Oh dear. Don't want to select that. Go back to this. And rotate. Gonna zoom in. Also, I want to pull up this other tool. If you go into Window and click Navigator, what it kind of creates is like a map for your thing, so you can actually, you know, travel around your artboard a lot easier. So I want to try to start matching these up. Looks like I actually got pretty close on the font size, which is awesome. Might need to be a bit bigger. Oop. Yeah, that looks about right. And then we need to do that squishing thing again. But first, I want to make sure that it's lined up. Alright, that looks pretty good across the board. So let's squish it so it lines up properly. Remember, I'm using my type tool. I'm going to Command A to highlight, and then I'm going to go to this little VA square and start bringing this down until things start lining up a bit better. There we go. And that doesn't always work perfectly. Sometimes you'll have to highlight certain sections. Like you can see that this area is a bit wacky, so I can highlight this section and bring those down a notch. This tool is incredibly useful for if you download fonts off of like DaFont or other websites, because the kerning on those usually isn't that great, so you'll have to manually fix it. So something to keep in mind. Anyways, I'm going to undo that because it really wasn't necessary. That part was. There we go. And I'm going to keep that where it is. I can also tell that This is relatively the same angle, so I'm just going to copy and paste this before I flatten it and use it later. I'm going to click on this because I'm done. Go to type, create outlines, boom, no problem. This one is all capitals, so I'm going to select all of this, caps lock on, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, and then plus sign, plus sign, minus sign, asterisk, slash, equal sign, where is it? Exclamation point, quote, money, percentage, semicolon. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of things on here. All right, hopefully I didn't miss anything because that was really irritating. All right, gonna line it back up. And actually, that's almost perfect. I just need to squish it down a bit more in here. So I'm just gonna highlight my letters and bring her down. And now you see what's happening here. There's actually, it might be a space. Oh, yep, it was just a space. There you go. So once I have that basically in line, same thing, click with my black arrow tool, object, excuse me, sorry, type, create outlines. Boom. Let's look at what else we have. So that is probably the creator and the time it was created. So Max, oops, let's turn off caps lock. Max Meidinger, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, 1957. Now, obviously, it's a bit big, so I'm going to roughly guesstimate the type size. Come on. Why aren't you changing? I'm asking you to do things and you don't want to. Oh, I was doing a wrong thing. Okay, ignore what I was doing there. That was dumb. We're going to go up to here and click that. I still think it's a bit smaller. Click that. Maybe one more click smaller. 18. Boop, boop, boop. Once again, using the rotate tool in the corner to try to get it lined up. And I might have underestimated the size of this. So let's make it a bit bigger. Right now I'm holding shift and hitting the corner. That allows you to scale up and down in scale or in proportion rather than stretching and squishing if you just don't hold shift. So that's pretty close. I might need to squish the font about together a little bit. So highlight, go back to the square with the VA, and I'm just going to bring it in a little. There we go. Looks pretty good. Maybe it's a little off tilt still, like that. And then click with your black arrow, typography, create outlines. Boom. Alright, so we got that part of the poster done. Now we're going to tackle these paragraphs. Mr. Williams would like me to show you how to use text blocks instead of just, typing freely. So you're going to grab your text tool. I'm going to start my text block like right here and make it as wide as I need it to be, and then click. I'm going to get rid of this lorem ipsum dorlor sit emit stuff so that I can just type Helvetica and try to match up the size. Close enough. All right. Is a grotesque, really grotesque, sans serif typeface. Uh-oh. All right, so what you're seeing happening here is that the gaps in between the lines, once again, this is a kerning thing, is too big. So we're going to highlight, and we're going to come back over here and click on this thing that I accidentally clicked on before, which is the A over A symbol, and messing with this will bring lines closer together. So there we go. That's pretty close. I don't know why it's not matching. Sans serif. Oh. Typeface. Maybe it's because they're all a little, it's a little squished. No, that doesn't seem to be the issue. Is this a bold? No, I don't think it's a bold. Bold oblique? Nope. Regular? See, it looks like regular, but it's messing up. We're continuing anyways, though, because I don't want this thing to be a few hours long. Grotesque. That's silly. Alright, let's try to fix this. Something's up. So I am going to default all of these things back to 0 because something is not quite right. I'm also going to lower the font a little bit and have a look. Alright. I think this person most likely did not use the paragraph tool when they created this because things are not really lining up properly. Probably because this needs to go down here. This needs to go down there. This needs to go down there. That needs to go down here. That needs to go up there. Okay. So Mr. Williams wanted me to show you how to use the text block tool because it's really the proper way to do this, but it looks like whoever created this poster either didn't or they used enters rather than allowing the type to naturally flow into the next line. So I'm going to have to make some changes, but keep in mind that generally having the beginning of a sentence like the start at a line above the rest of the sentence is poor graphic design. So what this back poster is showing me that they actually didn't really think the design of the paragraphs over very much, but let's not become too critical and move on to get the point made. Enter, enter, Max Adinger designed Helvetica, originally called News Has Grotesque. In 1957, when he was working for the Has Type Foundry in, oh, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, Switzerland. Woo. Enter, enter. Shortly thereafter, Nation linotype bought the typeface and adapted to the linotype printing machine. Helvetica. Latin word for Swiss. I didn't realize there was a Latin word for Swiss. Did they exist around the same time? Alright. Okay. So as I said before, there are some type mess ups going on here, but I don't want to get, oh god, there's more, too into that. Let's finish this up quickly. Alright, here we go, typed. Now we can get into the fun stuff, which is the background. And I know I picked a simple background, but I can at least show you how to use pen tool, briefly, the line tool, and shape tools. Alright, so I'm going to lock this layer and I'm going to name it type. And then I'm going to unlock it because I forgot to change them all to outlines. So click, type. Oh, I also want to show you this really quick. If you go into edit, I believe, there's a check spelling option. And you click start and it takes you through everything. I'm just going to ignore this right now, so I'm going to click done. But I'm going to get my black arrow tool, click on my type, go to type, create outlines, boom. Alright, now we're going to lock that layer, go back to my background layer, and start making some things. First thing I'll show you is the line tool, which is over here, right there. There's also arc tool. You could also use the pen tool for this, but I'm just going to show you the line tool because it's useful. Going on my background layer, changing it to black, because remember, this solid square is fill, the square with the gap is line. So making sure that that is white. I'm going to then start at the top of this, click, and hold shift. Shift keeps my line straight. If I don't hold shift, it lets me just go all over the place. So hold shift. It would also let me do certain other snap judgments, but for this statement, we're just going to keep it a straight line. Awesome. Now, if I move this off of that, it's tiny. So let's thicken that line up a bit. That looks about right. Okay, maybe it's a bit thick, one down. There we go, better. So that's the line tool. I changed the thickness by adjusting the stroke up here. You could also, if you wanted to get fancy, change this so it looks like it's a faded point or, I don't know, triangle. But we're trying to imitate, so I'm just going to go with uniform. I just wanted to show you that cool little option. Alright, now pen tool. Pen tool's a bit more complicated if you're dealing with curves, but it's this tool right here. For a brief scenario or a brief tutorial, you can click one point and then you click another point and you get a line. And when you finish the lines, it creates a shape. And when you have a shape, you can go back over here and change this to a color, and you would have a color inside that shape. You can also make curves. So if I've started there, I can then click and hold and bend it. This takes a bit of getting used to, but it can make really nice line art. So if I bend that, it will naturally want to go in the flow that the line wants to go in. So the natural flow would be go up here or down here so that the smooth line carries on through. But if we want to keep going in the same direction, we actually would click and break that line and, you know, make another line. There's other tools you can use with this, like I can actually start the bending here if I want to, which will change it there. I can click bend, and if I try to connect with this, it didn't do it that time. What if I go this way? If I try to get this to work, because it doesn't want to, sometimes when lines connect, they become joined and they'll actually affect each other, like this one. So if I click Alt, I can just affect this, but if I don't click Alt, it affects the entire shape that it's kind of bonded with. Anyways, we can talk more about pen tool later. Let's just use it to make the basic white shapes in our background. So making sure I have my white line selected, I'm going to click on my corner, click on this corner, go a little bit off the page, down to that red line, which is my bleed, click, and then complete the shape. You can't really tell because it's white behind it, but if I just switch this little, if I switch the line color with the fill color, it's filled it in completely white now. And we do the same with this one. Click, click, up to the bleed, click, and it will be all white. So now we have the white aspects of our assets, our background assets created. I'm actually going to lock it so I can just work behind it again. So I'm going to call this background 2. And that's where I'm going to create the red. Now I actually want to get the same red from the poster so that it imitates. So I'm going to unlock our reference layer. I'm going to open it like we did before. So double click on the layer, and I'm going to take off this, or I'm going to take off the template. So it's back to normal. I want this red color. I'm going to use my eyedropper tool, which is over here. You can also click eye and gather that color by clicking on it. I am now going to make this back into a template. Click OK, make sure it's locked, and then grab my square tool, which this is your shape tool. You can make circles, you know, stars, all that stuff, but we just want the rectangle. So I'm going to take the rectangles tool. I'm going to start outside of my project on the bleed, and I'm just going to drag it right across. Boom, I have that background color. Now, something to keep in mind while looking at the original is that all the type is in white. So we're going to go back in and change that. Going back in, I'm going to go onto my type layer, Command A to select everything, go up to this little, so it's the same thing as here, but your fill, and change it to white. Boom. All right, let me check my list, make sure I got everything. Create outlines, text frames for a paragraph, new layers. All right, I think the only thing to show you now is saving. So, saving's important. First, we do need to save it as an actual Illustrator file. Never just save as a PDF. You can't edit PDFs, you can't edit JPEGs, you can't edit PNGs. Once they're flattened, they're flattened. Unless you have an interactive PDF, but that's an entire different can of worms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm already in my typography folder, but if I wasn't, I would go to Desktop, Type Poster, and I'm actually going to leave the main file just in there. And following the naming convention, alright, click Save. All of that's fine, click Save. And now we can work on saving it as a PDF as Mr. Williams wants it to be saved as. So we're going to go to, I believe it's, there's a couple ways to save something like this, so I'm going to show you both. Save as, and I'm going to change this to Adobe PDF. So the format, change that, click Save. You're going to be prompted to this, and Mr. Williams wanted you to click smallest file size and click, I am going to make it with trim marks because those are important. Those are what you would use to, they're basically crop marks for when you're cutting out your image on printing. So I am going to save it with those. I think that's okay for right now. If there are other saving specifications, I'm sure Mr. Williams will let you know. So I'm going to click Save PDF. Okay. And then if I go into my folder here, I should have a PDF version. Packaging, which is something you also do in InDesign, is when you go package, you would save it to something like that, and you would just click package. Okay. And now I also have a package. Not that you needed to do that part, but if you open it, it saves everything. It saves your links, it saves your PDF, it saves everything. So either of those would work. And I think that's it, and then you would turn it in. So thank you for watching. Any weird clipping will probably be because of editing. This is my first attempt making one of these. Hope this helps with your project. Bye.